So Idyllic Tutor's coming back. 1 white, 2 colorless, sorcery, search your library for an enchantment, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. So this is Fabricate for enchantments. This was originally printed in Morningtide. Hasn't seen a standard reprinting since. So we're looking Morningtide, I think it was like 2008 probably. Sound about right? I think we're looking like 11 years ago. For whatever reason, they didn't put Idyllic Tutor into the first Theros, which I think is kind of
a disappointment. People were disappointed, I remember.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like a card. This card doesn't feel overpowered. I mean, we play Highlander Gauntlet, 600 card decks, very powerful format. Doesn't make it into my wheel. It used to. It's been cut for a long time. It's not good enough. 3-mana tutors, generally speaking, are not good enough. So modern. Is there a modern deck that plays Idyllic Tutor?
I have seen kind of like white prison-y decks that are playing like Ruined Halo and Ghostly Prison and Rest in Peace and Stony Silence. And a lot of times this allows them to get away with playing one-ofs of some of these narrow answers, so that if you're not playing against a graveyard deck, you don't like have a handful of Rest in Pieces. You just play 1 Rest in Peace and then, 3 Idyllic Tutors or whatever. And that way you have 4 copies of all your hate cards. You can find the right hate card for the matchup, slow them down a bunch, and then win with like Sigil the Empty Throne or something. It's always like relatively fringe.
Yeah.
But people really like those types of strategies. And I think that Idyllic Tutor opens it up for maybe Standard. I mean, the prison pieces in Standard are pretty lackluster, but also for Pioneer, where you do have like some of those cards. You're missing some of the Ghostly Prisons. We have Sphere of Safety, you have Detention Sphere, you have Sigil the Empty Throne, Starfield of Nyx, Rest in Peace.
Yeah, I think this card's good. We talked about, you just mentioned some of these same ones, Sigil the Empty Throne, Starfield. I think some of the other ones that are kind of cool, if you think about like weirder strategies in Pioneer you could sort of do. I mean, that I'm a big fan of Cynic Ascendancy. I think that's really cool. Hardened Scales obviously is already a card that people play, so you could have some sort of a Bant deck that's trying to do that sort of a thing.
With like if you're like a combo deck that has an enchantment as a combo piece, like it could be worth considering playing this to tutor for your combo in the same way that like creature combo decks in Modern play Court of Calling.
I'm just going to do a quick search here because I think this is kind of funny. How many cards are there in Modern enchantment that are rare or mythic rare that have the word win the game in them? I'm going to read them right now.
All right, I'm ready.
Cynic Ascendancy, big fan.
Yep.
Happily Ever After.
Ooh.
Hedron Alignment.
Oh boy.
Mechanized Production. Liliana's Contract. Revel in Riches. Okay, so we've got some space to play in Pioneer with Idyllic Tutor.
I also think that like if there is a combo deck that wants to have Arcane Adaptation in play, it's like a card like I've seen combos in Commander with like Conspiracy. Arcane Adaptation, you choose a creature type when it enters the battlefield.
Okay.
3 mana. All creatures you control are also that creature type in addition to their other types. So if you had like a creature, for example, there's an ally in Zendikar that like when an ally enters the battlefield under your control, you make a 2/2 wolf. So if you make that wolf into an ally, you now make infinite wolves. But like things like that, like Arcane Adaptation is always a card that like for these fringe combo decks that are like relying on creature types, it's always a possibility. So if something like that breaks out into Pioneer, you can theoretically use Idyllic Tutor to search for your combo piece.
Okay.